little tutorial, whatever you want to call it, to help folks that want to think about power backups for their own home, where they might start thinking, look at things that are important, not so important, and be prepared for those times. Like last year when Texas had the power outages and it took like a week to bring things back online. That had to be pretty painful for a lot of people that couldn't charge their cell phones, use their internet, just different things, keep their refrigerators cool, heat their house, because it was a really cold time and period. So these are all things that will provide you comforts if you're prepared and have a backup power source in the event of an outage. What you want to do first, though, is identify what you're going to run. Like refrigerators, seems like it's pretty no brainer on that one. You want to keep your food good. I have 2 refrigerators and a freezer, so that's something I would have to account for. Am I going to only keep one cold and move food to one if I have to because the power's out for longer periods of time, whatever? Or do I just spend more money so I have a more robust, a larger backup solution that can power all 3 of them? Now, I live in Arizona. Do I want my AC to be something I can run? If I want to run my AC, I want to understand how much power it needs to pull, and then also learn about things they call like soft starts that help an AC unit that's a 220 come online a little easier when it's on a backup generator. Because if you don't have enough power in that backup generator and it tries to kick on, it'll trip the breaker because it's drawing too much power and your generator can't provide it. So there's little hiccups there. But go through, identify what you're going to run, how much power they're going to need to consume, how many hours a day are you going to consume that power, and then how long would you like to plan for? Like a week outage, a month outage, just a couple hours outage, because that's really going to give you the idea of how much power you need and the equipment needed in order to handle that length of time and the amount of power. So there are different solutions. Like if you were looking for the simple, most straightforward way to be prepared for something, it would be to have a battery backup. It's an all-in-one setup. This one in the picture has wheels and a handle. They are pretty heavy. It's got a screen that lets you know where it's at. You can always have it plugged in and the battery's always charged. The power goes out. You've got this source of power to where you can power your devices. Now you might need an extension cord. You'd move your refrigerator out, unplug it from the wall, plug it into the battery backup, put your internet router on it, things like that, and you'll be back online and keeping your food cold with minimal downtime. So great solution, easy way to do it. You can spend $1,000, $1,500 on a really nice setup. You can build your own. There's a bunch of tutorials on how to do that. We'll talk about how YouTube's your best friend. But let's say you have gas that runs to your house, and that's what your heating and your oven and stuff uses. Well, if you've got that gas plumbed to your house, you could also plumb it into a gas or propane backup generator, which means you could run the generator to run the devices. I don't like a generator running all the time, so me personally, I would rather have the battery backup that as it's depleted would be charged by the propane or gas generator to like restore, or if you need an extra bump during the day, whatever the case, your backup generator can be the device in which that keeps your battery topped off so that you can keep on trucking. Great solution here in Arizona would be to think about solar because of how much sunlight we have. We have really good sunny days. We can generally pull down some pretty good power with solar. You don't have to install it on your house. You can have a portable unit that you can just set up in your yard when needed. Because again, if you have like a battery backup, always charged, ready to go. If power stays down for more than a day, you're probably going to need to look at charging it, and a solar option to do that would be a great way to be able to charge your battery up. Again, that only happens during the day that you can charge it, but that's also when you're using your heaviest amount of power. So hopefully you can find a balance there that works for you. But once you have a good grasp on the options out there, this image here kind of breaks down what a solar solution might look like. You've got a solar panel and a controller that turns that solar DC power into voltage that can be used and charge like your battery here. This could be your car battery. It could be as simple as you just plan on having an inverter, which is shown here, and I'll show a picture of that later, that you're just going to go plug into your car and then run a power cord from that inverter into your house and run some devices. That literally can be a power backup, but it's going to be for how long? And you could charge your battery by running your engine. Those are some pretty simple ways of knowing you have a way to produce a little bit of power, at least be able to charge some cell phones. Some cars come with these like 110 plugs already. So think about what you have available at your home that could potentially just be something to really help you in the case of an emergency, even if the emergency happens and you're totally not prepared. Um, just having an inverter on hand could be a huge solution because you plug it into your car, like I say. Now, what you want to do once you have a lot of information is plan for success. You got to know where you're going to store it. Know how heavy the battery is. Can you even move it? Can you handle it like yourself? Is your wiring the correct spec? Is what you'd call it. There's wires that are set to allow a larger amount of power through versus when you don't need a lot of power, you don't need as much cable, because if you have a small cable and a lot of power going through it, you'll probably melt them down because there's a lot of heat produced when you're running things, especially off a backup generator. If you're running a extension cord to, let's say, a power strip, and that power strip runs to 7 different devices, the extension cord is going to pull and create a lot more heat because of the 7 devices on the backside. But if it's an extension cord to one device, not as much heat. So you want to make sure what you create is ready for the pull and the load. You want to use fuses. You want to use breakers. You've got to have a way of isolating your generator from your main house power, because when the power goes out, you just don't go kick the generator on. You have to disconnect. Potentially, if you wire it in your house, you have to turn off the main breaker to the main power and then engage the breaker for your generator and let the power come in from your generator. Because if the generator is in line and your power comes back on, you're going to surge power back to your generator, and none of your equipment's going to like that. You're probably going to have a lot of problems. Maybe a fire, who knows? It's going to burn up some devices, and you're going to lose a lot of money. So you want to learn about these pieces of isolating it, using breakers, fuses to prevent damage to your equipment. And then you want to decide who's going to maintain them. Every 6 months, you should probably test out your solution, make sure it's working. At the point you put your solution in place or have it available, you want to test it to see how it works while you still have power, to see if it will do what you need it to do. And then you'll feel a lot more comfortable when the day comes that you need it. So those are the things to really kind of start getting yourself started and researching and thinking about what you might want to do when it comes to power backup solutions. Your best friend should be YouTube. This is a search I did for gas or propane. Let's do that properly. Generator. Just keep in mind they can run off gasoline as actual fuel, or you can have some of them work off propane. Now they have to be made for it, or you have to convert them to do that, but you can run off one or the other. And it depends on what you think you have more readily accessible in the time that you need to run your generator on, which you might go with. You could have a big propane tank on the side of your house that's your backup generator solution. So those are options. But let's talk about a solar battery charging. Because solar is great, but if it's only going to produce power during the day, what are you going to do at night, right? So you really need to say, well, I'm going to have a battery there for nighttime, but my solar is going to top it off and charge it throughout the day and keep me running. So there's different things. You can see people that go out camping, but these videos out here that are available, I'm going to search for it this way. Charge my backup battery with solar. Your search criteria is really going to drive how good your results are. So for essential components, this guy's talking RV, but same thing applies for your house. And so all of these videos, this one's 7 minutes, that one's 4 minutes. They're all super informative, and you can use these things to build up your knowledge, get a game plan, decide what you want to do, have a budget in mind, how much you can invest, where you feel like you could invest, and then see how good of a solution you can come in with that price point in mind. If your price point is out like over or under, come back to step number 1 and evaluate what you might cut or change, or what you might add to it. If your solution could provide more power, what else do you want to add to the list of things to power? Again, this is a very high level, get you moving in the right direction. Spend your time and get your knowledge to make sure your solution fits your personal needs. One solution does not fit everybody's needs. It may not be recommended, so feel it out and decide what's best for you. Let me show you actually one thing real quick. This little device here, there's devices like this that you can use to see how much power something uses. So anything you plug in here, it's going to tell you what type of draw, and it'll tell you what it needs. Tags on a device, like on a refrigerator or something, if you find the tags, it'll generally tell you how many watts it needs and the amount of power that it's going to consume potentially. So use these tools to identify the amount of power that you're going to account for here as you start to decide what you're going to power, how long you're going to need it, and then those types of those pieces of information. So that's a great tool. Those can be very helpful, and they're cost effective. If you don't know what an inverter is, and when I say that you could go out to your car and hook this inverter up to your car battery and then power devices off the backside, 2,500 watts would be fine for like running 1 or 2 refrigerators, your internet, some lights. It's not going to do anything for your AC and things like that. It's not going to be heavy enough to handle that type of stuff, but a simple inverter, having it available, could provide some of the basics to keep you online and on the internet and in the loop on what's happening. If you have any questions, comments, drop them in the box, the comment section below. Happy to answer and field any questions there.
Big thanks from Zen Times 10 for watching. If you like that video, make sure you subscribe. We have future promos and contests coming up. Click that like button and drop us a comment on the way out.